What's up, everybody? It's Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on the Space Engineers Inspiration series. We're starting things off today with, oh boy, Le Serval. That's what I'm going to call it. The description being entirely in a different language did not help me, although I did post it into Google Translate, so I believe I have a gist of what the kind of ship is. This was actually posted on my Discord server from a viewer, so if you guys want to be a part of that or submit your own designs or whatever, I highly encourage, actually if you're just going to communicate with me in general, I highly recommend using the Discord server. There's links in the description as well as on my channel page, because quite frankly YouTube doesn't organize the comments very well, and there's just a lot of them, and I lose track of a lot of them and forget to answer or didn't even notice they were there. So, if you want to make sure to get your message across to me, do check out the Discord server. Also, just to point out, if you are on the Discord server, I usually check them about once to twice a week, give or take, so I'm not on there all the time, so if I don't immediately respond, that's why. But yeah, I'm also coming off of the holiday week. For those, actually, you guys probably don't realize this, but I'm gonna make I apologize for the weird release schedule of everything, but I had taken a week off for Thanksgiving, and so I wasn't recording new stuff for the patrons, so the patrons got a week off and they are now back on the week after. However, YouTube is going to get hit with that like the following week after. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you were confused, that's why. So let's dive into this ship. Now, it's designed as an exploratory discovery type ship, I believe, per the translated or roughly translated description. So bear that in mind. And yes, it is intentionally asymmetrical from what I understand, which it bothers me. It really does. Like, I have to acknowledge that there are people that build that way, and they're fine with it, and I have to be okay with that. So I can't critique it if it's on purpose, right? Alright, so interestingly enough, we've got some drills here. I don't know if they're attached to pistons or anything. It doesn't look like it. So apparently it's just a very surface level drill. I'm not really sure. We've got a ladder here, which is convenient. Might need my headlamps for this for a minute. The lighting in here is a little odd. It's very bright in some areas and very dim in others, but also I have to fault the game engine a little bit because it does that whole adjustment thing where when you come in from one light source it tries to adjust to the other, which is frankly irritating to me. I don't know if you guys like it or not, but I find it really annoying. I probably should look for a mod or setting to see if I can turn that off, actually, because it gets really annoying. Alright, so anyway, I'm probably not going to read too much into the signs because I can't read them. But I can kind of guess that this is the port. I'm going to say, I don't know, port side? Maybe this isn't the port side, though. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where this is. Alright. I was actually going to say it was like the port side somebody's quarters, but, well, actually that might actually be where we're at. I don't know. Now that I'm looking at it. I mean, there's a bed and well, actually there's a couple beds, there's showers, so maybe this is someone's quarters. Maybe we're onto something. Okay. That goes somewhere, as all good doors should. Oop. Okay, where does this go? This goes into... Oh, this is back where we were. Okay. And that is that... Oh, I see. Okay, this is a multi-sign pointing that all of this is in this direction. Okay. And then this is one of the things it was indicating. And then these are the other two. Okay, I'm getting it now. Who needs to be able to read the words? We can just figure it out. Okay, so we've got that. Let's see what it... Ooh, this changes pictures. What is that? I know. I just figured it out. Never mind. I get easily impressed sometimes when I don't see stuff that I'm used to doing myself, but it's essentially just setting it to a slideshow and you have multiple textures layered. It's fine, I get it. I figured it out. You can backspace your comments. I heard you typing. Alright, so we've got the main cockpit there. A very large screen there for some reason that has a little bit of text on it. I'm not really sure what that's for. Admittedly, a lot of probably the lack of understanding what purpose something serves is probably due to being able or not being able to read the sign that's posted right above it, but still. Now this is an interesting little gizmo. We've got a piston on a hinge, or a hinge on a piston rather. So I'm wondering if this is a platform. Piston on off. Looking for a reverse or got it. Okay. So actually I've changed my mind. I'm guessing this is a ramp for some kind of ground rover vehicle that then was attached to the piston so that the height could be adjusted to the right angle and to bring it flush with the other wall. Possibly. That's what I'm thinking. There may be an option to lower it or something, but it doesn't seem to be working, so I'm going to stop pushing buttons, because that's something that I need to get better at doing, is not push buttons. I'm also seeing it kind of clip around, so I think I might have activated something I wasn't supposed to. Because it's probably trying to move and can't. But we're going to leave it alone before I do more damage. Okay. So coming up here, we got another... Oh, okay, this leads to the outside, so there's an exterior catwalk area over there. We've got something machines, so I'm guessing engineering is probably what that is supposed to be saying, or trying to, or is saying, and I just can't read it. Okay. So we've got access points to access the cargo containers and more than likely to also repair things. There's pistons everywhere in here. I'm very confused by the purpose for all of them, in fact. Because a lot of them don't seem to actually be, like, doing something actively. It's almost like it was done for placement or distance correction kind of thing, not really for some kind of mobility. Oh, and there's also a little rover, or a little, not rover, whatchamacallit, a little scout thing. Because actually, it has thrusters, it has batteries, it has antennas, there's a spotlight, so I'm guessing that's exactly what it's for, is a scout, because I don't see any weapons or drills or anything on it at all. Also, I have to note, I really like the, yeah, like a piston here. I'm trying to figure out what that's for. Is that the drill? Oh, I think that is a drill. So maybe the drills actually can descend. Oh, I get it. Okay. So I was seeing the ore detector and thing and assuming it was attached, but I think the ore detector is actually attached to the drill. Okay. So this actually can go down. That makes a lot more sense. That makes a lot more sense. I was like, why would you have a drill that you can't lower? That doesn't really seem to serve a purpose. So you can actually lower it. Okay. But I also was going to say that I really like the decorum of the ship as a whole. It's got some very, like, some parts are shiny, some parts are rugged, some parts are messed up and things, so it can, on purpose, like the textures and stuff, not that they're damaged. And so I kind of find that to be a cool look to the ship, because it feels more like a... sort of like a Millennium Falcon kind of feel, like the ship's been around for a little bit and it's gone through some stuff. That's kind of what I get from that. Okay, it can transfer atmosphere, I believe, according to the translated description. As you can see, it also has atmo thrusters and hydrogen. I believe it has ion. Yeah, there's an ion. So there is that. Now, it mentioned in the description that it can transition by using the jump drives on board, so I don't know if that's a have to or if it can transition without them or not. I am not going to mess with any of the pistons or anything at the moment, mainly because I don't know what all they do and if I should be messing with them at all. Okay, so we don't really need the atmo thrusters on, but we are going to turn on the hydrogen and the ion thrusters. The atmos won't do us any good in, well, no atmosphere. So we're going to give it a go. Now with the hydrogen thrusters and everything on, it actually accelerates pretty quickly. And, I mean, it's not a super huge ship or anything, so that's not entirely surprising, but just saying. It's kind of cool. Turning is a little bit on the slower side. It's not sluggish, but it is a little on the slower side, so if you're expecting like a fighter kind of reaction speed, you may not get it, kind of thing. But that's going to do it for this one, I think. It's got light armory, so there's no real, but it's mostly turrets, so there's no real weapons to test out or anything, as this is an exploratory vessel. Yeah, so we're gonna wrap this one up here, and let's move on to the next one. Okay, and coming in a couple months late, we have the D.V.I. October. Now this is another submission that I got from my Discord server from a viewer, and I found it to be pretty interesting for a couple of reasons. I should point out right off the bat that it does have a couple of mods, nothing too crazy, mainly weaponry, but there are a couple of them, so if you're wanting to go completely vanilla, this may not work for you, but if you're okay with a couple of mods, then I think this is a pretty decent looking ship. So I wanted to actually, it's probably better than decent looking. I don't think that's very fair because I think it's better than some of the stuff I've built, and I would say that I built some okay stuff. But so one of the things that caught my eye quickly was the hull design, as well as well, this. You've got, I forget what the description said, but a good amount of cannons out the front. Now, technically, you could, if you wanted a pure vanilla, you could probably replace these with rocket launchers, I assume. But let's just be clear, it's just a lot of barrels pointed at you down range, kind of thing. But the other thing that I thought was kind of interesting is all these little uses of the angle blocks and stuff. It created these kind of... I don't know how to properly articulate it, but it's kind of like a lot of ripples kind of thing. Like looking at it from the top or the side, it just kind of looks like it has a lot of ripples in the armor, which is kind of cool looking, especially since it seems on purpose. Like you have other areas that are flat and straight, and then you've got more of these claw or ripple, or depending on how you want to describe it, type shapes. I also really like the back shape here. I'd like to improve on my own ability to build these, but I like these kind of like curved slightly, but then eventually they just kind of stop type things. I think those designs, if done correctly, are really cool looking. Like in this case, for example, I think this is a good use of it. I also like this back curve on the back strap here. I think that's a nice... I also like the little pincer prong things. There's just a couple of... There's quite a few little things that, like, as a whole, you kind of just look at it and go, cool ship. But when you start looking at it more detailed, when you look at it more specifically, then you start noticing, oh, that's what they did. Oh, okay, that's cool. You know, stuff like that. There are a couple of hangars here as well, and I'm curious about the hangar design, although there's mods. Okay. So, there's probably a modded hangar door, because those don't look vanilla to me, unless they did some crazy tomfoolery, which is possible, I suppose. But, mod. So, there's armored hangar door blocks. Okay. So, since they were very kind, and very clearly gave me an obvious entrance, I'm going to use this one instead of the hangar, just because it's probably the one you're supposed to use. Now, one curious thing is I don't see an elevator or doorway of sorts. So I do really like this, though. This is kind of neat. I like the windows here, and then you've got the lights on the top. Very interesting and very cool looking observation area. Now, this surprises me a great deal. One, that I did not even go down the right ramp. That's not a walkway. I was being a child at the moment, and I was just running down the median. No, the other thing is when I looked at the build, when I pasted it in, I really assumed this would be the bridge up here where you got the glass viewing area, but apparently not, because we have yet to see the bridge. So that's very interesting. I also really like the spotlight mood lighting thing. That's pretty cool. Just curious if there's anything to do here. There's not, so that's just a conveyor. So we've got two doors on the side. Gravity generator there. I actually like the layout of the ship, too. It's surprisingly different than I thought. I kind of had an idea of what the layout on the inside was going to look like, and it's not really laid out the same way at all. Okay, I really like this. This is a great use of stairs and ramps to not only create the shape that you want, but also to give some variance and texture to your wall to where it looks different. The only other thing I could have thought of that I would have probably tried to do is maybe replace one area that had the ramps, maybe in the central area here, with the 2x1 ramp slopes that's armored and not the full block ramps or stairs, just to give it another variety, but it doesn't really need it. That would have just been personal preference, but I really like the use of those because, let's be honest, I don't remember the last time anybody actually used the stairs and the ramps a lot the way they're supposed to, other than, obviously, we're looking at an example right here. But you know what I mean. It's like a lot of times we use the slopes or the ramps or something so you can, do something different with them. So I really like the creative use of these blocks that are not all that commonly used. I'm going to assume this is the bridge, although I don't see a main flight seat, so I'm gathering it's one of those two. Okay, now this is this is interesting. So we've got some doors here, but this looks different from the other side. Is this different from the other side? No, it's not. I just went into a different door. Okay, so we've got a door there. All of these seem to be like drop pods, so we're gonna go down those two in a minute. But we've got cryo bay as well as, it looks like, medical and kind of a semi-ready room kind of thing, because we've got some lockers here, and a desk with a bed. So I'm guessing this is just a general overall crew quarters, cryo chamber, and medical bay, is my guess. I was also curious if one of these goes up and one goes down. It doesn't look like it, so we're just going to take this one. And I'm guessing that comes out the same place as the other one. And we'll just double check. Yeah. Okay, so this takes us to the lower sections of the ship. This is interesting. Somehow they got a fog. I know it's modded, but I don't think there's a mod for fog. Maybe there is. What would I know? Alright, so this is using the hangar door, or the modded hangar door, which, that is... Alright, I'm not going to go on a rant. I'm not going to rant. I'm not going to rant. I'm going to make a comment that I will say that the vanilla options for hangar doors are sorely lacking. That's all I'm going to say on that point, and then I'm just going to move on and talk about the rest of the ship. Okay, so we've got... Okay, that's weird. So we've got some more of that spotlight fog, but like a lot of it. I didn't realize it grew exponentially the more lights you had. That's kind of interesting. Also, I do feel like they need to fix shader things for glass, because yeah, I feel like that's self-explanatory. And again, interesting use of the windows that I don't think any of us look at as windows. They are one block stairs. We all know it. We've got another ramp here, or another hangar door, sorry. Two hangar doors. Where does it go, though? Are these? Oh, I guess these are platforms with connectors, so you could store a small fighter there. We've got a larger hangar door on the ventral area, for a total of 4 more connection points. 2 have landing pads and 2 are vertical. Doesn't look like they have pistons or anything, so that's where they're gonna go. Where does this go? This goes into a very dark room. Alright, so this is, okay, this is internal thrusters. I personally really like this style, mainly because it allows you to shape the hull the way that you want without having to account for exposed thrusters. So I personally really like this style of building thrusters where you just account for the damage distance and then flip them and invert them. I usually have coined them to myself as inverted thruster rooms, but that's just me. Okay, so then we go this way, and we have kind of our It looks like production and storage. We've got hydrogen tanks, cargo containers, oxygen generators and tanks, hydrogen generators. Very nice, very nice. And then I'm guessing main engineering, because we've got the reactors back here. And again, we've got some internal thrusters. I find that to be a little interesting that some of it's internal and then other parts are still pointed down. I wonder if that was a necessary decision because it wouldn't affect the hull, or if that was an intentional decision because they wanted the thrusters exposed on the bottom. I'm not sure. Either way, pretty cool. Really like it. I like the setup. Overall, I'm fairly impressed with the layout of the ship. Like I said before, I had an idea of how it would look, and it doesn't really look that way at all. It's laid out very different on the inside than I expected, and it's actually far larger. I feel like that tends to happen a lot to me. I look at a ship and I go, oh, that's like a Corvette or something. Then you get walking around in the ship and you're like, no, this is a big ship. Okay, so we've got ion thrusters, hydrogen thrusters, and atmos. We don't really need the atmos. Docking clamps. So there are some modded landing gears and clamps as well, I believe. That's the other one, aside from the hangar doors and the weapons. We're not going to play around too much with the clamps or the landing gears or anything, or the hangar doors. We don't really need to. May try out some of these weapons, although other than this one, they look like turrets, so probably not a lot of options. But let's go ahead. Should be selecting. Oh wait, that's shoot once. Okay, they're not firing at all, I don't think. Oh, yep, yeah, they are. They're just going a lot faster than I realized, and I wasn't looking in the right direction, apparently. Yeah, so that just seems like a bad day. Like, you'd have to time your shot, but man, if that landed, I'd want heavy armor or something, because that's going to tear your ship up. But, alright, hydrogens and ions are on. I really like the... Oh, wait, they were already on, never mind. I do really like the back thrusters here. I really like the back of this ship. It looks really cool. The slightly curved but still kind of metallic and angular kind of thing. It's just a really nice design. I think it's really cool. Alright, so let's give it a whirl. So again, this is a deceptively large ship, so I didn't expect the acceleration to be huge, but it's actually faster than I expected for the size of the ship. Turning's not bad, but probably comparable to what you'd expect for a decent sized ship, if not a little more responsive. It does turn relatively quickly compared to what I was expecting. So anyway, yeah, I think it's a really cool ship. I think the design is actually interesting, as opposed to a lot of ships that end up being either very samey or cookie cutter or something. I think the hull design is what drew me the most, because it actually is pretty intriguing to me. With that, we're going to wrap this one up, and let's move on to the last one. Okay, and last but not least, we have the SERVAL, well, Storm of the 4, but SERVAL Sayori class cruisers. That's how I'm going to tackle this. But yes, as the name implies, it is designed as a cruiser according to the description. And I found the overall hull design and color scheme and stuff to just be kind of intriguing. So I just wanted to give it a better look because it caught my eye and I thought it was kind of cool looking. One of the things that I did like about it is I'm assuming, but as the last ship proved, I probably shouldn't do that all the time, but I assume the bridge area up here, or the con tower, I thought the design of that was pretty cool in terms of how it's kind of embedded but kind of still elevated, and I may try and mimic something similar but with my own touch on the current build that I'm doing on my own ship. I also like the longer nose style here with the hanger on the end. I think that's a nice touch. But yeah, obviously with all the weapons sticking out of it, it's definitely designed as a cruiser that is not afraid to tango with enemy ships and things of that nature, because man, does it have weapons on it. Holy crap. So yeah, there's that. And don't worry, I'm not buying time. I'm pretty sure I already found the door, and there's also 2 right there, which are color-coded, so there's that, just making sure. I also like this little spinning antenna touch up here. That's That's kind of cool. It's like obviously not something functional since it's just slabs, but it's actually kind of cool that they added that. I think that's a nice little nod to the way that typical battleships and stuff have their con tower antennas and stuff. But yeah, also the color palette's very unique. You don't see a lot of bright yellowish gold colored, well, anything. I was going to say ships, but rovers or anything else, it's usually just not that kind of color scheme. One thing that intrigues me a little bit about this particular build here is I'm curious how much of an interior there is, because although the ship looks bigger on the outside, we may have an accident, like a reversal from the last ship we just looked at, where one looks bigger on the outside and then is smaller and vice versa, or something to that extent. Or it's got a lot of little things in it, because one thing I've noticed so far anyway is it seems like the other ship that we just looked at, the October, had a more open room setup, like everything was a lot more roomy, and this seems a little more compact. And so I'm curious if that means it's just smaller, or if that means there's less to look like, less of an interior. And I started thinking about it, and the way this cockpit and bridge is set up, it makes me wonder if it's kind of an illusion where it looks like a bigger ship than it actually is, and we may have actually seen a good majority, if not all, of the interior already just from looking through here. I do like this area too. This is pretty cool. Oh no, I take that back. We haven't seen all of it because there's a hangar that I missed at some point, so there is that. But yeah, so where is that? Oh, we came in from the con tower. Never mind. I know where it is now. Because we came in from... Wait, nope. Okay, I gotta go down. There's gotta be a down somewhere. Where's a down? I need a down stairwell. I know... Oh, here we go. I saw it. I started to go down, and then I backed up. That's why. Okay. Alright, I'm back on the trail, back on the scent. This always messes with me when people put glass here. I feel like one of those dogs that runs into the glass door and then looks at the thing like, what in the world just happened? Because I'm like, oh, can I? No, okay, I can't cross over there. Okay, that's cool. So, that's just something I seem to do all the time. And this is what I was looking for. I saw this in the screenshot. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't see this yet. So this is a very detailed hangar. Also, this is cool because now I know that I'm 95% sure someone confirmed for me that connectors actually work through stuff like glass or catwalks. So this is a design that I really want to investigate further, because I think this is awesome from an aesthetics point of view, but the fact that it would still probably work is amazing. Now, then granted, there is the physics aspect of how in the world does a connector supply materials and stuff through glass. I have no idea. Let's not ask too many questions and let's just move on, shall we? I think that's the best course of action. I also like the different uses of like the wood textures and stuff like that. Actually, what in the world is this now that I'm looking at it? Because it's almost got a wood texture, but it doesn't have the, like, floor paneling look to it. That's really weird. So, I don't... If you guys know what that is, let me know. If that's just the wood texture on a certain block that just makes it look different, that's kind of cool. I didn't know it would do that. Also, I saw this screenshot in the description as well, and it's pretty interesting that you've got your cryo bay with a exam MRI type machine. But what I thought was interesting was the positioning of it, that you've got the MRI thing, which is almost, I don't think you can actually do it, but it's almost on center with the central dot in the jump drive. But I really like the framing here of using the nose parts of the 2x1 slope ramps and corners and stuff. I don't know why, but it frames that jump drive perfectly. Like, you get this little square edge right along, or 45-degree angle, rather, right along the edges where it has a different color armored plating and stuff. Like, it just really framed that in really nicely, and I looked at that in the screenshot and was like, I gotta do that more often. I mean, granted, I don't know that I've ever actually built a jump drive in survival, but semantics. I mean, I'm going to eventually, right? Now, this is interesting to me as well, because I just noticed they're using remote blocks and gyroscopes and jump drives, but this is really cool. This is actually really clever. The storage containers here are a little bit, unless they're connected underneath, which it doesn't look like it, so I'm guessing no. Much in the same way that this doesn't look to be connected. But the gyroscopes and jump drive and remote control and all that stuff would actually function as more gyroscopes. So I think this is a great way to hide more gyroscopic maneuverability, if you will, that and even the reactors here and stuff like that and assemblers. If all this is wired up secretly under the floor and stuff, it's a cool way to make it look like it's just a bunch of clutter, but actually increase the functionality of the ship. And I don't know about the actually the assembler modules will light up green if they're just connected to the thing. But then they're connected. Yeah, okay, I see the broken texture, that it's created a seam here. So there's probably either a tube or another conveyor block running through that cargo container, which is then connecting to all this. So I'm not sure about that reactor. I think it's connected, but at least the refinery, the cargo containers, and the assemblers are connected. And I know the gyroscopes and remote blocks are functioning because they're green. Well, I guess that means they're powered, but you get what I mean. That's still a very clever way to hide some extra functionality into your ship, because it's like, oh, it's just my cluttered hangar, and this is just stuff I'm tinkering with. But in reality, it's actually serving the purpose of adding all of the functionality to the ship itself without having to have like a designated gyroscope room or something like that. So I thought that was super clever. Once I realized it took me a minute, but once I figured out what they were doing, I was like, that's super cool. Okay, so we've got some timer blocks here for targeting. I'm not gonna mess with those. I've messed with them before in the past, and unless I have an actual target ship to try it on, it's never seemed to work right, so we're just gonna leave that alone. I don't see any manual weapons. They all look like turrets. I'm guessing okay, piston, that one's for refuel, that one's for hangar hinges, so for the doors probably, or something to that effect. So we're not going to mess around too much with that. We're just going to give it a go and test out the maneuverability. Now, I do think it said in the description it was built on an internal hydrogen system, so I'm guessing much like the last build, there's a bunch of internal hydrogen thrusters that are pointed in the right direction so that you can function correctly. Acceleration's not bad. The gyroscopes actually are even more responsive than the last one, so it actually turns really well. It accelerates slightly slower, I think, just from eyeballing it, but the turning is actually even more responsive, so that's pretty cool. But with that, I'm going to wrap things up for today. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you all next time. Peace.